think Michael's waving his hand, but you're on mute.
One sec. All right, hi. I want to say something because Nikki is so like good at this. She runs shows, and she was doing this like 3 years ago. Like, hey, Nikki has a site for Cis Drunk Air. So the thing about it is, as somebody who has been trying to do this, I'm busy doing other things, and I just want to say the anxiety of dealing with it is too much. So what I do is I go to Nikki's site and I find out all the stuff that's going on, just maybe by watching the show or seeing the posts and following and liking her. And I think the first thing for people is to purge all that negative stuff out of their social media. But if we're going to try to communicate something, what I've done is I think when there's a message, I have been getting up and saying, okay, South Florida Wellness Network, free food distribution, Lauderhill. As soon as it pops up on my Facebook feed, I share it. And then there's a Broward Center for the Arts is doing a food distribution. So there's private and public and nonprofit and government free food giveaways. And I'm just throwing it up there like a million times. And I'm asking people if they're seeing it, and they're not. So it's like some people do see it if they happen to be on Facebook at the time. And I think one of the issues is, if everything's in like PowerPoint presentation, just follow me for 1 second. There's a David Byrne thing with how the space shuttle blew up because they used the engineers had used PowerPoint. So the information that said, hey, you have a broken O-ring, it was like in a list with all the other things, and it had no way of the important information. There's this dangerous problem, and you didn't rise to the top. So if you're asking us as artists to like, I'm going to like, Nikki's putting on a show, someone else is putting on a show, those people, you need to bring us along, because it's too much anxiety for everybody, whether they're on Facebook and whether they do that or not. And if somebody wants to do it by telephone or FaceTime instead, we need to be sensitive to that. And I think somehow when there's like, hey, there's a food shortage, there's a problem, or here's a solution, or whatever we're doing, how do you rise? How do we, as a community or as artists even, I think, how do I make the more important message rise to the top? Like, hey, today there's a meeting, but guess what? There's also like this critical food thing going on. And Facebook isn't going to distinguish between like someone's birthday and like everybody needs to get together. This has to happen in the next 6 hours, but it is technically possible to make that happen. So I think if we start using these nodes, like Nikki's a point and whoever else is broadcasting and using is good at social media, you're going to have to kind of bring everybody along for a while, because they're not going to get online. They're going to shut it off and tune out. That's what I found, is half the people refuse to communicate with me at all anymore. So how do you get to despondent people where if you don't have a car, you can't go pick up that food? And then you're gonna have all these people who want to help, and then they're gonna be like just not helping by going and like hanging out in a place they shouldn't be anyway. We could direct them. So I just want to know, I think we need to immediately develop, if you're gonna ask artists or creative people to be involved in kinds of things, like we have to have some kind of an alarm system or some sort of a thing, something that says this information is really important. We're gonna give it, like, everybody needs to do something here, versus this is just a regular communication, versus this is not important at all. You can tune in if you want. So that would be my suggestion. I think also we should stop using the word virtual, because I've been talking to people I haven't spoken to in 25 years, and I've connected with family all over the planet in one meeting. So to me, this is as real as it gets. It sucks not to be in physical closeness to people I'm used to, but I actually think we just flipped. I think that's the thing that flipped, is that this became the reality, and that we just should deal with it and stop saying, and I don't mean this as to put down to Nikki, but your show is not virtual to me. It's as real as going, because I didn't get to go before. It was hard. Now I realize I could have been going all along, but now I'm there. So I'm there, and that's a good thing. I'm going to focus on that and keep doing it and sharing it and watch parties, figuring out how we do it. But I think we need to do it for people. If you're technologically savvy or artistically savvy, you could make the poster and email it to the person, or Facebook it to the person who can get it out to everybody. But some of these young people can boom, 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 and they can have it out to 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 people in a matter of moments. How many people can do that in this room? It took me 10 years to get 10,000 hits on a video. So now, and then this week I got like stuff's just happening so much faster. So I think as it happens really fast, we need to bring people along. Otherwise, literally, just people are going to give it up. It's too frustrating and it's too difficult. And just even this, we're all kind of good at this. There's people who just aren't connected at all, and we need to figure out how to service them as well in reality, whether it's on a video conference or dealing with it.
So I've been
Peace, peace, peace.
years, Michael.
You're,
And
you're
what
speaking Jim's language.
what you're witnessing is the pivot where a little something changes everything. So you're in on the ground floor. You're already doing the thing that you're talking about having happened. And yet in the greater channel, it's not happening yet.
Right.
Amazon cannot do these things. There's the advantage. The design proposition that you're advocating for is what makes that difference. And they'd have to pay someone to do what you do, and no one's going to sign up for that position.
Well, Amazon does pay me because I have products that they buy from me directly, but like that I invented, and I want to do an invention workshop as well. But the thing about it is they're also one system, and if that part isn't functioning, then everything else has to be done by real people, you know, like in the real world. And they're very good. I think that's kind of the thing. It's like also like places like McDonald's, you know, like these places that do automation. They're amazing in distribution systems, you know, and I think there's things that are positive out of it as long as it's sort of done in the way that you're all discussing, you know, if it's yeah.
If I could bring up something though that concerns me is that when we do talk about these sort of different realms, the realm of online or virtual or whatever you want to call it, and physically face to face, going back to comments that have been made earlier, I think we do need to think that not everybody has access, not everybody is online, not everybody has Wi-Fi, not everybody, you know, it's also the language that things are being done in. So that, you know, if you're not there in person, some folks who are used to the body language or whatever, I mean, or the encounter or being able to find somebody to talk to, if you don't know which thing to quote plug into, if you're not a member of there's so many possibilities of another sort of aspect of segregation, which is those who are easily able to get access to these virtual places, and those who do not have access to these virtual places. So I think that's yet another way that we need to be thinking about, just be concerned about that, sort of taking for granted that that's accessible to everybody when it really is not. We need to have that awareness.
35 years in that effort, and we're only getting there now. And in Pontiac, we did like $5 million, and they spent it on themselves, those who got those dollars, as opposed to opening up the opportunities for young people to become the makers of their own future. So we're making progress.
Yeah, but
yeah. Well, right now what you're speaking of, Corinna, is those two things, access and broadband capacity, are the two integers that are being discussed nationally right now as the solution to a number of problems. Online learning is being driven by the pandemic. And isn't it the pandemic that made that necessary, when we all knew that the equity of having that kind of capacity was something that was necessary? But it took a pandemic to make that so, which is really an interesting contrast. We got 50 years in Earth Day, and the pandemic has caused more movement on things of importance. It's certainly not near as organic as Earth Day. And this happened inside of 90 days. There's
Peace.
There's something very
It's a unique Earth Day, that's for sure.
yeah, it is.
And